Good evening. It's Tim Ashe, President of the Vermont Senate. Sticking with my theme for this weekend's updates, I'm going to be responding to some of the additional emails, phone calls I've received in the last few days. Yesterday, I dedicated the entire portion of my update to constituent input I received, calling out, highlighting people who've done impressive things to step up and serve the community, or even doing their normal jobs, but doing it under more stress, and people expressing even more appreciation than normal. I received too many to actually do yesterday, so I thought it made sense to keep with the theme, and I know that people are starting to realize that we're going to be settling in for a while in terms of the expectations of how we're able to leave our homes and when we can leave our homes. We know that the news in terms of the number of infections and people who succumb to COVID-19 in the days ahead, we expect some hard news. And so it's good to step back and reflect and show appreciation. So it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind for a moment. I think it's a lot more geographically distributed today. And so all of these are notes that have been sent in to me or things that have been posted on social media to me so that I could highlight the great work that many people are doing. So without further ado, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to have to look down a little bit in order to see some of the specifics that people are suggesting. But we're going to get going here. So for starters, we've got Joanna, who says that she wants to commend the people who work at the Central Vermont Council on Aging and all the other councils on aging. She particularly wanted to say that the staff of the senior helpline are doing amazing work. Obviously, older Vermonters right now are more vulnerable and also more isolated because people can't be visiting them the same way that they normally would. So Central Vermont Council on Aging, keep up the great work. Sue says that she is wanting to show appreciation for the Boys and Girls Club of Virgins. They've been serving up hot meals every day and doing delivery for many kids. As we know, Boys and Girls Club and other facilities like it are really a safe place where they can get additional academic coaching, socialize, and healthy meals. So because they're generally shut down right now, Boys and Girls Club of Virgins being called out for the above and beyond work they're doing to serve kids. Rainbow, and that is the actual name, wants to thank the entire staff of 3 Cathedral Square Senior Living. For those of you who are not from Burlington, if you've seen a 10-story building in downtown Burlington with solar panels on the top, that is 3 Cathedral Square and has both independent and assisted living. And Rainbow thinks they're doing a great job keeping people safe. Ashana calls out, this is a word I think is going to be one of the things like social distancing that comes out of this, the stitchers, the people making masks and gowns to step up and help people stay safe, specifically refers to, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this word right, Swan and Stan Millinery, or Millery, I don't know what the right word is, the Tara Lynn Bridal, Joan Darling, and many more. So Ashana says thanks to them for what they're doing. Hannah wrote to say that she wanted to recognize Planned Parenthood, who are continuing to provide their range of essential health services despite the crisis around us. So thanks to all the providers at Planned Parenthood. Susan writes about her Gramps Country Store in West Topsom and says her daughter and co-owner run Gramps Country Store, which is providing essential goods for people in a very rural community, and also called out the mom and pops doing delivery in East Orange. So those of you who are less familiar, these are very rural communities. And so if someone is unable to get to services, it's really critical that people deliver, and apparently the stores in East Orange are doing a great job. Greg wants to highlight the work of the staff at the Champlain Valley Expo. As we know, they have been both an early additional site for testing. The drive-through testing concept was really first done at scale there. And they've also now are hosting a 400-bed surge hospital facility staffed by the National Guard. So Greg wants to commend the staff who have allowed all that to happen without a hitch so far. Tom wanted to comment on the quick and efficient work of Washington and North Orange County's Regional Response Command Center. So this is a group of organizations who banded together in Washington and Northern Orange counties, which is the county that has Randolph and Williamstown, for those of you who are less familiar. And they have banded together to create one call center so that people with whatever needs can easily get the services that they need. And I know that Capstone Community Action and Down Street Housing, which is a nonprofit housing organization, and a number of other players have helped make that happen to support the work of our Emergency Operations Center and others. Jean wants to say that her sister-in-law and all the other people who deliver packages for work deserve special recognition, and then mentions that in addition to doing their jobs, they're losing one of the best parts of the job, which is the interaction with customers. So while they're putting themselves at risk, they don't get the upside of being able to engage in the same way with customers, and wanted their work and the risk they're putting themselves under to be recognized. Steve wants to thank all the staff at Northeast Kingdom Human Services. This is an organization that provides mental health and treatment services to people in the northeastern counties of Vermont. So thank you, Steve. Mary, this is going to be a bit of a mouthful on my part, because Mary wants to thank all the member organizations of the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. So in a second, I'll say all the list of names that she highlighted. But one of the things that we're very worried about is that as people are confined in their homes and restricted in their movement, we're worried that there could be a rise in cases of domestic violence or sexual violence. And obviously, we all want to be on guard against that. And so the organizations that Mary highlights that fall into that category, and some of these are acronyms: AWARE, CIRCLE, the Clarina Howard Nichols Center, Hope Works, Pride Center's Safe Space Program, PAVE, the NewStory Center, the Sexual Assault Crisis Team, Steps to End Domestic Violence, which is otherwise more quickly referred to as STEPS, Umbrella, Voices Against Violence, which is a program at CVOEO, Women Safe, and the Women's Freedom Center. So thanks, Mary, for highlighting that important work. And they also do shelter services in addition to fielding calls and doing crisis interventions. Tom wanted to recognize USCRI, that is the former Vermont Refugee Resettlement Program, who stood up something they called the Vermont Neighbor Relief Fund. So they're soliciting donations to be able to help recently arrived refugees who have been supported through USCRI's work, who have additional needs at this time, and maybe also confused about what is allowed and what isn't. So thank you, Tom, for highlighting USCRI Vermont. We had a shout out to the Brattleboro Area Mutual Aid Group. So all across the state, we know that community members have risen up spontaneously in some cases and organically to create mutual aid, meaning someone can say what their needs are, and then someone else who has the capacity to provide resources or to deliver things or pick up, things like that, they can be matched together. So at the Brattleboro Area Mutual Aid, it's Jennifer, Angela, and Erin apparently are the co-conspirators who made that happen, so thank you to them. Abby thanks the Peace and Justice Center for compiling the comprehensive list of mutual aid organizations throughout the state. If you go to the Peace and Justice website, no matter where you're watching this from in the state, you'll see all the different groups that you can plug into, either because you need something or because you can help in some way. Heather sends gratitude to all the first responders who are volunteer first responders, and also the paid staff as well. We know that throughout the state there are many people who do some other thing with their life, but also volunteer on fire and rescue crews. So Heather is sending a particular amount of gratitude to them, but also to the paid folks who are doing very dangerous work. They always do dangerous work. Right now their work is even more fraught because of the risk of infection. I should add, across the country, firefighters in particular have The number who are in isolation is actually quite large because many of them are the first ones on the scenes of medical issues, especially if they're also EMTs or paramedics. Melody thanks the counseling services of Addison County, who have had an uptick in demand for their services over the recent weeks. Counseling services of Addison County is akin to the Howard Center in Chittenden County. And thanks, Melody, for highlighting the important work they're doing right now. Mike sends appreciation to the staff at the Howard Center who have to do their work in person. I'm assuming Mike also thinks that the people who don't have to be in person but are still working, doing telehealth and telemedicine, are also to be commended. But obviously not all jobs in mental health services can be done over the phone or video. So Mike says that those who have to be in a physical location for their work deserve special recognition. Randy sends gratitude to the staff at the Franklin County Home Health. That is essentially a visiting nurse organization. That's what many people would know be more familiar with. Franklin County Home Health provides visiting nurse and hospice kinds of services in Franklin County in the St. Albans area. On the same theme, Bobby sends his thanks to the folks at Orleans, Essex, VA, and Hospice. Visiting nurse and hospice, who do similar work in the Orleans and Essex counties. And I should say that in Essex County, for those of you who know your Vermont geography, there's a lot of distance between people. And so people who are visiting nurse workers in home health in that region of the state often are driving great distances to be able to see their clients. So thank you to them. Pete says he wants to thank the crew at Grace Cottage for all that they're doing during this crisis. Grace Cottage is a hospital in Townsend, Vermont. So it's I've been to it twice, once when I worked for Bernie Sanders and once for a meeting several years ago. It's a rather small hospital, but a really vital element to the community in Townsend and some of the surrounding hill towns. So thanks, Pete, for mentioning them. Mark sends his appreciation for everyone at Gifford Medical Center. Gifford is in Randolph. It provides important medical care for most of central Vermont, south of the Barry-Montpelier area. Mark wants to say how much he appreciates their work. Joey is appreciative of all, this is, I think, an interesting submission. Joey's appreciative of all the workers at the gas station / convenience stores on Riverside Ave in Burlington, and says she'll always think differently about their work after this crisis is over. And I hope that's true, and I hope that's true for all of us. Julie wants to thank Smugglers Distillery for switching their production over to hand sanitizer. I'm not sure if they were the first, but they were the first I knew of. Smugglers Distillery, which makes distilled alcohol products, switched over their production line to make hand sanitizer when we knew that we needed it. So Julie wants to thank them. Liz thanks the Green Mountain Transit drivers who are still running the buses. So Green Mountain Transit serves central and northwestern Vermont and does routes to Middlebury and a few other locations. Liz wants to thank the drivers. Green Mountain Transit has cut back on some of their routes, but there are still buses getting people who are essential workers from place to place, including to our medical facility. So thank you, Liz. On the same theme, Jim sends his gratitude to all the drivers and the leadership at Advanced Transit, which is the equivalent of Green Mountain Transit for the Upper Valley area. Advanced Transit, for what it's worth, also does fare-free rides for many of their routes, and something the rest of the state is hopefully going to learn from. Michael wants to recognize the staff at ANEW Place, which quickly moved people out of a shelter where people were too close together so that they could be in more appropriate conditions. So ANEW Place is a shelter providing housing and some wraparound services to homeless individuals and people. I believe it's only homeless individuals. The shelter is apparently very tight quarters, and in light of the risk of infection, had to close that down, and were able to move into a series of campers nearby in very quick order. So Michael wants to commend them. Rob wants to thank the staff at the John Graham shelter in Middlebury. John Graham is a shelter for people who have nowhere else to go in the Middlebury area. I believe Liz Reedy is or was, I think she still is, the director of the John Graham shelter, who've been providing really critical work there for all this time. And Rob has appreciates them now, I suppose, more than ever. All right, we got one last batch here. Andy is impressed with the staff and teachers at Williston Central School for how quickly they've moved to remote learning to benefit his kids. I think there was some worry about the transition in many school districts as we went away from the facilities themselves to remote learning. Andy says that it has been relatively seamless and wants to thank the teachers and staff at Williston Central School. Brian wants to commend everyone at the Rutland Northwest Supervisory Union, which is a number of communities are served by that supervisory union, who have delivered 1,000 meals a day by school bus to kids in that supervisory union. We know that many school districts are keeping the bus routes running in the morning and then in the afternoon to deliver fresh meals to kids who normally would get them at school. So that's really good. I should add here just briefly, one of the lesser advertised features of the emergency legislation we passed in the legislature about 2 weeks ago now was allowing school buses to continue to use their little stop sign that flips out from the side of the bus when they're delivering school meals to protect, obviously, the teachers and staff who are actually on the bus delivering that. Robert thanks the staff of the St. Johnsbury schools who are doing the same thing. They've been delivering a few hundred meals a week in these early days of the COVID-19 crisis. So all the people around the state who are preparing the meals, packaging them, and delivering them, thank you as well. And then the last one that came in just before I went live here, Deborah thanks the folks at Tiny Thai in Winooski. Tiny Thai is a great restaurant in the Winooski Rotary downtown area, who says that without anyone asking, they spontaneously started bringing meals to a low-income housing facility in Winooski. So another example of a Vermont business stepping up in really positive ways. So I want to thank Tiny Thai in Winooski for that. So that brings the list to a close for today. I think it's been 2 days that have actually been really positive in thinking about all the people who are stepping up and contributing to the people around them and making sure people are safe and that their needs are being met. Tomorrow I'm going to keep up with the theme. I'm going to be checking in with my 29 colleagues in the Senate from around the state and asking them to give me a quick picture of how things are in their corners of the world. So I'll be providing the third of 3 days of kind of expressions of gratitude from around the state. This time it'll be fed to me through other members of the Senate. So with that, I'm going to sign off and encourage you to continue to stay safe and take all the precautions that are being recommended by our public health officials and the governor. And want to say how much I've appreciated not only all the feedback I've been receiving for these couple sessions, but all the questions that you've been sending me over the recent weeks. They have helped me take that information and go to state agencies and to our congressional delegation and advocate for changes, some of which have come to be, which is really encouraging. So when you send a note, if I don't get back to you instantaneously, you can bet your bottom dollar I've checked it out and I'm looking into it. So thank you. Keep the messages coming and stay safe.